Hey, it's Steve Goldberg. Just a quick random demo of a better camera, version 1.7.8 in X-Plane 12.4.0 beta 5. And right this second, I'm in a tower view. Here, let me make the status bar. Let's lock it on so you can see what's going on. This bar at the bottom here is part of ABC, a better camera. It gives you all the context for what you're currently looking at with the camera. And it also has some clickable features, like you can actually change which target you're looking at. So right now I'm actually looking at this Airbus that's an AI plane. It's actually using the AI version of the model from X-Plane, so it's not as well rendered inside, but we can actually hit a key. Now, I want you to be warned, this is going to be slow. This is not ABC's fault. I'm going to hit the numpad 1 key, and we're just going to go into the cockpit of this aircraft. I happen to have animations turned on. You can turn animations off in ABC, but we're actually watching the AI. You can right drag to look around. So we're actually in the cockpit of this Airbus, and the numpad keys actually work, which don't work in ABC with in X-Plane without ABC. Notice the quality's horrible. That's because Laminar have intentionally done that for the AI aircraft. So all these textures are really not good looking at all compared to if you loaded the non-AI version of this. And I think you can actually fly the non-AI version as an AI plane too, but this seems like a smarter one for resource consumption reasons. But so here we are watching it fly. If our user plane were also an Airbus 330, then these displays would actually be lit up. But since it's not, then they're not shown at all. They're just black. That's true for almost all of them. For the ones that are, let's go to a different aircraft. For some of them that don't have glass cockpits, some of the instruments, so these glass cockpit ones are dead, but you notice here we are getting, is that altitude? I can't really tell. It's so pixelated. But you get the idea. In fact, that's one of the cool features I've had in ABC for quite a while, that if you're in the cockpit of, let's say, this AI plane, which is the Beechcraft King Air, and you switch to another target, I'm just using keys that are the equivalent of hitting these buttons right here. But these buttons move, so that's why I'm doing it using keyboard shortcuts. But you notice that the camera position is preserved. Now, not the literal position, because obviously each aircraft's got a completely different center of gravity. Everything's different between these aircraft, but ABC has an algorithm that's pretty sophisticated that can remap most cockpit positions and views, even outside the aircraft, but you don't want to go too far, just because then that's where the differences start to multiply. But if we just go like in front of the windscreen here, and then switch back to the last aircraft, we're in front of the windscreen of that one. It's not perfect, but it's a very similar position. It really depends on the metrics of that particular aircraft. If we go back to the user plane, this is actually the plane I have loaded, which is a level up 737-600, but it's off right now anyway. But you see how slow the panning is. That's all because of X-Plane, or my Mac that I'm running can't handle video recording at the same time. If I turn off animation, however, you see that the view changes are instant. This is another great feature of ABC, that it's perfectly compatible in ABC with the legacy, if you will, X-Plane Quick Looks feature. So if you've got, this is not compatible with X Camera, although I'm working towards trying to make it work with X Camera. But for now, you have to assume X Camera is disabled while you're using this feature, which is you can hit the numpad keys and you're going to get the same views you had in X-Plane. So whatever was in your prefs.txt files are automatically available in ABC. But there's actually much more to them. They do this auto repositioning, so you can actually take the views from one plane and transpose them, just like with this. So if I wanted this view in, let's say, a much smaller plane like the Cirrus SF50, we can just switch to it and ABC takes care of the rest. So that's true of the files as well, the ABC files that contain your views, because ABC keeps more metadata than just whatever's in X-Plane's prefs file. And you can basically, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. You can basically take those views and port them to any aircraft. In fact, ABC has a feature called Global Quick Views. So if you click this menu, there are 20 slots defined today in Quick Views. Now, the next generation of what I'm working on for version 2 of ABC will greatly expand this to be more flexible, where you can name the views and all that stuff. But for now, this is just a direct emulation of X-Plane's version with a lot of extra features. And they allow up to 20 saved views, although ABC also has this notion of a copy and paste view. So you can actually copy using a command and then paste and just take whatever view you've got and take it with you. So for example, I'll show you that real quick. Let's see where it is right now. Yeah, it's not a very good view. So it could be any camera view, by the way. And that's different from X-Plane because X-Plane's saved views, their quick looks, can only be the most basic views. They don't support flyby tower views. They don't support any of those things as being saved and restored. But so here, let's just say I put the camera on the close cockpit instrument right behind the yoke, just for example, and let's copy that. So I've hit the command to copy it. So now, instead of having to switch directly to a plane in place, I can now paste it in that other plane. And it's not always going to be the same. Let's try another one. Oh, it remembered that view. Let's paste it and get it again. So there you go. That's roughly the same view. I love that error, and by the way, here, where you can see the ground through these little things. That's cute. But paste, you can basically remember a view, and that also works for things like tower views. This isn't the airport I had it in, but the tower's up there, so if I shift 5, I get the tower. ABC actually automatically puts the camera 15 meters above the tower, which is pretty high in this case because the tower's already pretty high. But what you can do is you can adjust the tower position manually. So I'm just moving the mouse or moving the camera manually using the arrow keys and the forward and back commands. It's going to be too fast to really get a good look, but I'm just going to show this feature of memorizing. This will work for any of the memorized slots as well. But basically, let's see. Let's see if where am I already? That's all they have in the tower. They don't have anything useful in the tower. All right, they don't have anything useful in the tower. And my aircraft is way down there. So to be able to look at it, I just hit re-aim. Let me just make sure there's nothing below this level. Oh, I don't think so. Nope. All right, we'll put it back up here. So all I have to do is I could memorize a view for a number, a numpad key, right? Or I can just move back just a tiny bit. Or I can just say copy, right? So this is the same as if I memorized using the control and then a numpad key. In fact, I could do that too. So if you notice, these are all global views, 11 through 20. So I could make 20 by holding down the control key and clicking here or using a numpad key to generate view number 20. I can make this the tower spot that I've modified. So it's not just tower, because if you hit shift 5, you're going to get this, right? But if you hit this either pasted copied view or this, they're the same, numpad 20, you get this view. So maybe you're going to be asking, well, what happens when you change to a different airport? And by the way, does this aim at other aircraft? Of course it aims at other aircraft. So if you select a different target from here, like that Airbus that's probably long gone now, I was going to watch it take off, but it's way up there. We're even too high, right? So we end up hitting where was that? It looked like there was a rendered interior. I don't know. I'll find it later. And but basically, so I just switched to the cockpit of this AI plane. I can hit shift 4, shift 8, right? And drag the mouse and everything. But then I can also go back to the last view, so you can toggle back and forth between these two views. If animation is on, then you get, even though it's super slow right now, again, not ABC's fault, you can get the animated version of that. And you can also reset the view, and you can go back to the tower by hitting Command V in my bindings to paste. And then we have to move down a little. It's not going to work very well, but let's paste it again. So you can always put the camera back where you had it by pasting it, basically, if you have it in copy paste. We're using one of the numpad keys. But the common question, Let's go back to that one more time. I need to adjust it a little bit because it was way too high. How do I do this? It looks like I can't. Yeah, I can't make it go super slow. It's going to be too hard, I guess. What I wanted to show you was, yeah, why is it so bad now and it wasn't earlier? I was able to micro adjust it earlier, and now I'm holding down the control key, but I'm not getting that same micro adjustment. I think that must be a bug. But either way, wherever, oh, maybe I can do it this way. Let's see. No, it's too fast. Darn it. But basically, if this view were the saved view, let's do it for the user aircraft. So if this were the saved view for my numpad 12, for example, or 20, I guess in this case, then if I switch to another airport, obviously the tower, or if I fly the user plane, the tower will be in a totally different place. So will it work? Yes. If you hit numpad 12, it won't, or numpad 20, it won't take you to this tower. It'll take you to the tower nearest the airplane because it's all relative. And then it'll shift the view to the delta between where the tower is supposed to be by calculation and where I've moved it to. And it won't necessarily be that useful of a view, but it does, ABC does port the views across different locales, right? So it's not, that's probably why X-Plane didn't make that a feature to be able to save and restore tower views, is they didn't want to have to do that. But I've done it. So, oh, there, now it's working better. Oh, I know why. It's a function of how far away the user plane is, the plane that you're tracking is. And since it was so far away, it was moving in much larger chunks. So now I should be able to, right, let's go back and move it down a little more, a little further forward. Now we have a better chance of seeing other aircraft. Okay, so I'm going to make this the one. So I'm going to recopy this. And I'm also going to use this time a keyboard shortcut and say Control. And then on Mac, I have a binding for 20 to be Shift 0 on the numpad. And you get to verify what it is. I'm going to let it time out while I explain this to you. So it tells you for sure what you're memorizing, and you have to hit it a second time, but I didn't, so it timed out. So I'm going to do it again, and this time I'm going to hit it twice in a row. Once I see that it's 20, hit it again, and now I've memorized 20 for this aircraft. So, and this is not a global view. This is, the command V is a global view. It'll work no matter what. The numpad 20 thing won't work if I shift to another, track another aircraft. But once I'm in the view, I can turn on auto zoom. And you see we're going to track all these aircraft from this position in the tower. And if I zoom out, you can see where we are. So when I zoomed out, I turned off auto zoom with a keyboard shortcut. Because once it's zoomed in, you can't really tell that you're even in the tower. It is kind of annoying that they didn't model the tower in this one, but whatever, it's all good. This is a small airport. I can never remember the name of this town because I think this is wrong, but X-Plane seems to do it a lot, that the name of the airport doesn't include the city name in it. But it's Gerald R. Ford, wherever that is. Somewhere in Michigan? I don't know. Anyway, but I'm just switching through all the different targets right now. Most of them are so far away, you have to do auto zoom to be able to see them. Auto zoom is a superbly important feature in ABC, and I'm very proud of it. And then, of course, you can hit, let's turn on animations, and then you can hit Shift 4, and you can go straight from the tower to a circle view of this aircraft. And you can actually see the tower was where we're going, because we're landing at this airport, I think. Let's see. You can do this cool effect where you zoom in and move back at the same time. Yeah, that's the same airport. It's just that we're over some smaller airport with the camera. But if I hit Shift 3, we can go to the runway that's nearest to the aircraft, which is some small field runway. And this demonstrates what auto roll is. So if we zoom out, you can even see it by looking at the horizon. So this is auto roll on, this is auto roll off, and auto zoom on, and then auto roll on, or off, on, sorry. So it basically rotates the camera to give you a cool perspective on the aircraft as it's flying. It's not necessarily anything you would normally do in the real world. It's just a cool effect that I thought was cute. So I made it on by default. And you notice those buttons went away. That's because we're not in a spot mode. So ABC supports a whole bunch of different spot modes. Drop spot just drops the camera where it is and starts spotting, and then you've got auto zoom. And with any of these cameras, you can physically move them. Here, I'll toggle it with a keyboard shortcut. You can move the camera using the standard period and comma and E and Q and arrow keys. So any camera can be moved in ABC, especially drop spot, because that's the whole idea of it. So if you notice back when I was looking at the tower, if we do Shift V and we turn back on auto zoom, you notice that the tower spot, wait a second, it's still called tower, and that's because we're close enough to the tower location that ABC still considers this to be the tower. But if I move the camera a little bit, you'll see it changes from tower spot to drop spot, and it gets a dash through the tower, strike through. That's to let you know that this is a tower view. So if you reload the tower by hitting Shift Reload or well, not Shift Reload, hitting this button, Restart View, it's going to take you back to the actual tower position, because that's what this button does. It doesn't take you back to the last view. It takes you back to the beginning of whatever mode you're in, right? The default position for that mode. So if we look down, you'll see we're above the tower again. We're not where I put the camera for this one. Now we're inside the tower. That time it did say tower. I think it just depends on, it's like a couple millimeters difference, depends on where the camera turns up because of the auto roll feature. The camera moves slightly. But so now I'm outside the window, so now it does show it as a drop spot instead of a tower spot. To see now it's a tower spot. It just depends on how far from the actual tower it is to whether it decides it's a drop spot or not. In fact, all of these are close enough except that one. But I just move the camera and go back to drop spot. And so there's a whole bunch of these types of views. And if you're in any of these spot views, then these buttons appear on the status bar to turn on and off auto roll and auto zoom. Notice it even zooms out. In that case, it was zoomed in really far. So when I turned on auto zoom, it zoomed out, which it's already zoomed as far out as it can go. So these are all like little features that are just built into the product to make it easier to use the X-Plane camera. It's not a completely new concept. The way you switch between targets, even though X-Plane doesn't offer it. So when I hit this Airbus button, what I'm really doing in ABC is I'm actually hitting the previous button 3 times for you, because that's all X-Plane gives you is the command next, previous, and return to user. So ABC just harnesses those 3 commands to put the camera on whichever aircraft you want to track, but then it also tells you what aircraft it is, and it's listening. So if anybody else, any other plugin or you using different commands were to cause the X-Plane target to change, ABC would synchronize that with its own tracking list, which is what this is called. And then if you can actually have aircraft coming from different tracking lists. So I've just enabled LiveTraffic, and it hasn't started up yet. There's just a few. There we go. So there's the LiveTraffic, and it's going to keep growing a little bit because it's LiveTraffic. So we can see this aircraft, which is a LiveTraffic aircraft, taking off from some other smaller airport nearby. And that is LiveTraffic. And this, by the way, is not using TCAS. So we still have, if we go back to the X-Plane, sorry about that. It's just in the middle of updating. We go back to the X-Plane one, we still have all these AI aircraft flying around, right? So we have this aircraft, that's an AI aircraft powered by X-Plane. And then we have this aircraft, which is I'm just toggling between the 2 last targets. This aircraft, which is not known to X-Plane at all, except it will be in the map. So all these black things are because LiveTraffic has its own conduit to the map. But that's the only way X-Plane knows about them. X-Plane doesn't know about them unless you add them into TCAS. And since I want to keep my AI planes flying, which is all these current black ones, then X-Plane, I'm not using TCAS. I'm letting the AI planes occupy the TCAS slots. And ABC can span the two with no trouble at all. So I can hit Shift 2 to do a still spot. I can do Shift 5 to look at it from the X-plane tower, the user plane's tower, because that's the definition. I can Command V to go to my indoor position here and still look at it. Everything works the same way, even though X-plane doesn't even know about it. So X-plane thinks the current target is whatever my last X-plane target was. So you could find out if you switch to X-plane's version of the tower. I'll just do it. Why not? So let's go back to well, it doesn't matter. I'll switch to X-plane's tower right now using a special magic keyboard shortcut. So this is X-plane's version of the tower. And notice it's not tracking that aircraft anymore, and it's certainly not zoomed in. It never keeps track of zoom. It's just looking off into the distance, because what it's looking at is this. That's not looking at that, right? This ABC thinks that's the target, but that's not the target. The target is number 6, I think. Yeah, so let's go back to X-plane's tower shift. I got to hold down a special key and then hit Shift 5. So now that is the Beechcraft King Air. The problem is it's way up there, and X-plane's camera can't seem to aim anymore. So if you really want this, you have to use the ABC re-aim command. Watch this. Let's turn off auto zoom because it's not on an X-plane. So here we go. I'm going to hit re-aim, and that's the correct target. And then I can turn on auto zoom, and then I can hit Shift 4 to go to it. And this is all fake. ABC is not, it's taking over these cameras and making them work even for aircraft that aren't known to X-plane. And you notice it even keeping track of what they're doing. So you can actually find out when one of them's landing that's too far away. There's one parked only 9 miles from the camera, which is at my airport. So there you go, Gerald R. Ford. So this is an X-plane or an LiveTraffic aircraft, etc. So yeah, it's just some demonstrations of things you can do with ABC. Normally I keep this unlocked and let it time out. It'll come on and off when it's needed. So if you hit a numpad key to go into the cockpit, oops, I have animation on, so it's super slow because of my Mac. You see it came up, but then it went away. But if you hit another numpad key, it comes up again briefly, just to you can see what numpad view you have. Or you can lock it on if you want to keep it on, but I kind of like it off. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope anyone who hasn't seen this found that interesting. You can find out a lot more about it if you go on the xplane.org forum and look for a better camera. Just search Google for a better camera, X-plane. And you can also feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions, if you need any help. Other users can also help you if you do that. So just feel free to post a question here on this video, or you can go to the forum that's hosted on xplane.org if you can find it. But I'm not going to give you all that information here. It's information overload. All right. Thanks very much again. See ya.